Please help me in welcoming Meilani MacDonald.
I think my first job is going to be to shorten that intro a little bit. It looks much shorter when it's written out. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for welcoming here to talk to you this morning about HangOuts specifically. So first of all, let me find out how many of you have heard of Google.
No.
Everybody, right? How many of you heard of Google Plus? Okay. Oh, everybody, that's great. Google Plus is basically Google's social media network, like Facebook or LinkedIn, but it's Google's own property. They have introduced a lot of really wonderful tools and resources for free that people can use to help them grow their business and market their business online. Really powerful things. One of the most powerful tools I've come across is HangOuts. Has anybody heard of HangOuts yet or know what it is? Okay, just a few. How about Skype? Does anybody know what Skype is? Okay, so most of you know what Skype is. It's a face-to-face video conference app. HangOuts is like Skype on steroids. You can have up to 10 people in your Hangout room. A Hangout on air is a Hangout that's broadcast live over YouTube. So now that Google has provided these tools, Hangouts and Hangouts on Air, people are using them to create their own shows. They're going to be introducing subscription channels on YouTube in the not too distant future. So people can create content, video shows for a niche market, a niche audience, and eventually they'll be able to even charge for access to those channels, their YouTube channels, if they want to. Personally, I think YouTube is going to be the biggest threat to cable TV since cable TV came out. So, the other great thing about Hangouts is, please forgive me, my hands are shaking here, is that you can use them to help build up your audience. And you can see, Jeff mentioned I have almost 12,000 people in my audience. Most of those came from the Hangout show that I do, the TGIF Business Networking Hangout. The reason I started that Hangout in the first place was because I was entering the self-employed arena. Nobody knew who I was, nobody knew what my services were, and I wanted a way to reach out to an audience beyond local borders and take clients in from anywhere. So I started doing this Hangout show, and I made it a business-to-business show, and I bring in people who have advice for small business owners and entrepreneurs, because that's the audience I want to attract. So they come to this show to watch people talk about things like marketing and social media, and they get introduced to me, and I get put in their circles, and that was instrumental in helping to build and continuing to help to build my audience. I'm actually going to start a Hangout, yes?
I'm confused. Is it the Hangouts, are they just people talking or are they actual visual?
They're visual. We're going to do a demonstration. I'm going to start one right now. So you guys will actually see what a Hangout is, and you're going to be in the Hangout. So excuse me for a moment while I get started. So I have this little chat box open. I'm just going to click on the camera. And this opens a Hangout window that is now inviting these people to come and join our Hangout. Will we be able to hear them?
Should be okay. Speakers.
Okay, awesome. Great. Okay, awesome. Hi, everybody. Oop.
Hold on just for a second.
We are working out a few technical glitches, so wave because the audience can see you. Hi. This is Janice Hurlbert that you see up in the large screen. We have Carla Wynn. She's joining us from Alabama, where it's freezing cold and their lines are freezing over, so if we lose her, it's a storm out there.
Who ended up winning that game yesterday? Was that Auburn or Florida?
Right now.
Huh?
Jim is joining us from Florida, and Janice is actually here in Palm Desert. So you can see in this Hangout room, we already have people from both ends of the country, from California to Florida. I've had people come in and join from Germany and Australia before, so it's really wonderful. Okay, Carla, you are showing in the large screen. Would you like to give yourself an introduction? Let's see if we can hear you.
Hmm.
Oh, we're having a little technical difficulty, sorry.
Hold on just a second.
We're getting the speakers hooked up. So Janice and Carla and I connected through social media. And we noticed that our business services are very complementary to each other's, because I help people figure out what they want to do and how they're going to do it and what they want their website to accomplish. Carla builds great websites, and Janice also does great website work. Janice is a virtual assistant and Carla is a webmistress. So the three of us have been getting together and meeting, and we are creating a product that we're going to sell to new business startups that is going to be a complete product that gives them strategy and, you know, website and maintenance. But we are doing all our planning meetings online via HangOuts. So we use HangOuts personally to do our own planning meetings. Okay, Janice, say hello. Let's see if our sound is working. No, not yet. Is it turned off maybe? Okay, sorry guys, thank you for joining us. I'm going to keep talking while we're working on the sound. Say something every now and then so that we can find out if the sound is working. Okay, so Carla and Janice and I, as I said, we've been meeting and holding all our meetings together. Another cool thing about Hangouts is that you can share your screen. So for example, if I have something that I want my business partners to look at, a plan that I came up with, I can actually share my screen. I'll open it on my desktop. Say it's a PDF. You guys know what a PDF document is, right? I can open that up, and then in my Hangout window, I choose Share Screen. It will show my PDF document then to everybody in the room. So we can do planning and internal, you know, collaborations very easily. Now, if we are doing a presentation that involves showing a YouTube video, there's an app that brings YouTube videos in there, and there's different apps that are actually inside the Hangout that allow you to do these things.
The apps are built in?
Yes, they are built in. Now, we're not going to learn how to use them today. We don't have time for all that. This is just kind of an introduction, and so you see what a Hangout is and how it can be used. But, oh, thank you, Jim, for sharing your screen. Let me... Gentlemen, may I come in here just for a moment, please? I'm going to... There. So Jim is sharing his screen for us, and thank you, Jim, for the marketing. He put up my YouTube channel. It's got all these TGIF Business Networking Hangouts. Remember when I said a Hangout on air is a Hangout that's broadcast live? So we're just doing a private Hangout, but if we had started it as a Hangout on air, this would actually be streaming, and anybody who is looking on Google Plus at one of our pages would see it. Or if they looked in the stream and we had it in the stream, or if they were watching it on YouTube, or of course you can embed it in your website too. So there's a lot of ways that you can use a Hangout to do something for business. So for example, if you wanted to give a webinar, you could use a Hangout on air to make your presentation. You would embed the video feed in your website. Then you would do a bunch of marketing and say, hey, I'm going to do this presentation. Here's the page on my website where this video feed is going to happen. Please come back, you know, Friday, 4 o'clock and watch this presentation. Then Friday at 4 o'clock, people come to your website and press play, and they can watch you speaking live and doing a presentation. So it's a useful tool for driving people to your website, because you can do a presentation there, rather than, for example, using a webinar service. Now, webinar services are great too, and they have a lot of functions that you may or may not get with Hangouts, but Google is constantly improving and adding bells and whistles. So they have now, for example, a question and answer feature where people who are watching from the event, do you know what an event listing is? Like if you are on Facebook, you can create an event for something. Okay, well, in Facebook or social and other social medias, you can create an event. And basically, it's just a page that says, hey, on this date at this time, I'm doing this thing. And then you can take that page and you can spread it around to market your event. So on Google Plus, you can make an event listing and you can embed the video right into the event listing. So if you have an event listing and people are going there to look for information for your event, they can also watch your Hangout from that event listing. And from that event listing, they can input Q&As. So they can ask questions and get answers. You can show the questions on the screen if you wanted, things like that. Oh, Jim, thank you so much for talking. I'm sorry that we just aren't hearing you yet.
We should have sound. We're hearing sound now, but it's not a we.
We have sound, but it's not coming out of the speakers. So I'm going to keep talking about it. Now, Jim, since Jim is up there, let me tell you a little bit about what he does. He is a sort of a guy who goes around to people who host Hangouts, and he helps them very much. And his business is teaching people how to use the videos after they're done. Because when you do a Hangout on air, the one that's broadcast on YouTube, it's also automatically recorded. And then it's automatically archived to your YouTube channel, which you will have because you have to have a Google account to use their app, Hangouts. And so if you have a Google account, you also have a YouTube account because it's all owned by Google. So you would have a YouTube channel, and any Hangout on air that you do is automatically archived to your YouTube channel for people to view later. Now you can set it to private if you want it to be invite-only viewing, and then it's not listed in search or anything, and only the people that you invite to give access to can view it. Or you can make it public so everybody can see it. Now Jim teaches people how to do things like think about all the uses they can get from their video material. And again, the thing that makes this so great for small business owners and solopreneurs is that these are all free tools. So you can do a Hangout. Let's, for example, you do a product demonstration. You have a brick and mortar store and you're selling some cool products and you sell them online as well. You could do a product demonstration, make it a Hangout on air, then your product demonstration is recorded, and then you have a product demonstration video that you can use on your website, on your socials. You can take still photos from it. And so Jim's business is teaching people, helping them learn how to market using the video content that they've created. Almost. Okay. What if we unplug the speakers and use just the thing? How loud is it? Okay, say something again, Jim.
Say hello, Jim. Can't hear me?
No? Okay.
Are they hearing each other?
Yes, they can all hear each other. This little marker down here, these little green lines show that somebody is speaking. Now, generally, when you're in a Hangout, if you have more than 2 people, whoever is speaking automatically shows in the large screen.
You guys, see on the top right after you finish this block, it says set device, default device. Just you might want to just double check that and see what that's set at.
So I've been talking thus far about ways to use Hangouts for collaborating internally on meetings. It's great if you're on a project team and your team members are spread throughout the country or the world, because you don't have to now get on a plane and fly somewhere that's only 19 degrees out to have a meeting with your group. You can do it from your own home or your office. And mostly we're seeing people using Hangouts for promoting and marketing, doing shows that introduce them to their audience, that help them build their brand identity and their reputation, that show off the services that they have to offer. But there's also practical reasons. I have a client who came to me for lessons on how to use a Hangout. She's a medical transcriptionist. She has a regular job, no, need to market anything. But what she wanted was, it was her and an assistant who would get on the phone together, that had to fill out paperwork that had to be very exact. It's in the medical industry, it was going to doctors and stuff. And they would get on the phone with the client. But she wanted to be and the way it worked is she talked to the client patient and the assistant filled out the document based on their conversation. But she really wanted to see the document and make sure it was being filled out right because her assistant was still in training. So I set them up on how to use Hangouts. And now the medical transcriptionist lady and her assistant will get in a Hangout and they'll get a video Hangout going and they'll bring the document up so they can both see it. Then they will make a phone call, because you can also make a phone call from these Hangouts. And they will call the client, so the client's just getting a regular phone call and he's talking on the phone, he's not on video or anything. But they hear him, and so while she's interviewing the client and the assistant is filling out the document, she can also kind of oversee the document. So that's sort of a practical application that doesn't have anything to do with marketing. But these things are really, really
Right.
Don't get too excited.
okay.
Okay.
Oh, you guys are so wonderful. I just want to say thank you, because even if we don't hear you, the audience can see you, and I believe they're enjoying seeing you.
Can they see us right?
Yes, well, actually, no, they can't see you. Normally, the way this works, it's your built-in mic and camera. So on a laptop, that camera would be shooting this way, so that's why they don't see you. And that's why here, instead of the camera being on, it's off. And so if your camera's off, it will show your profile picture.
Okay.
And then if I was in the big screen, it would show my profile picture in a circle, and then there would be these like lines coming out of the circle to show that that person is talking. So you still know who's talking and who's saying what, even if the cameras aren't on. So, you know, we have Janice and Carla and I have our meetings every Monday. And sometimes we use cameras and sometimes we don't. Kind of depends on how early in the morning, how many cups of coffee we've had. You know,
Yeah.
What is that little soundboard with the X next to it?
Yeah,
On
you
the
just
left.
selected that.
Oh, you just selected it?
Yes. That
It's just a
is,
control.
that's a new feature. They give you a lot of really nifty effects.
Well, it says speakers at
May I-
46%.
may I
so that's
jump
pretty
in?
good.
Okay.
Right.
So you can hear those people connecting.
Okay. So even if, guys, I'm going to show them the effects. So if you guys want to put on some fancy hats or anything, go ahead. This is Google Effects. And this is just for the fun stuff.
Yeah.
This doesn't really, you know, it's not business, but it's fun. So if I was actually showing on camera, I can click on tiara and I would have a tiara on my head. So Janice, do you want to put a tiara on and show our audience, or Jim? You'd look nice in a mohawk. I don't know if they can hear. Can you guys still hear me?
Can I connect?
Go ahead.
No, I mean, I'm here with you. I'm here with
Your
you.
mic?
Oh,
Your mic
sure.
is
Can
You have to sign into Google Plus and then just come into the Hangout. I'll send you an invite.
Thank you.
So now I'm going to send an invite to Brian. And in,
Your mic is turned off too, up there on the, right there, yeah.
no, that's actually, if it was
That's
off,
just a mute.
it turns red.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think there's just a problem. I'm sorry about that. So when I move the mouse on my icons up here for doing everything, this one is a chat box. So I can tell them no sound here. And thanks for talking so we can test. So I can send them messages through the chat box. Okay, and now I'm going to invite Brian in. So this here is invite people in the upper left.
Let's see who puts on the tiara.
And I'm going to invite Brian. You can see when I type his name in, he pops up because I have him in my circles. So I'm going to add him there. I could add a whole circle. So if I had a circle with 20 people and I added the circle instead of each individual, it would just send an invite to all those 20 people. Now 20 people, of course, can't get in. But it's, you know, you can use that in your marketing. Only, you know, 8 seats available. I'm going to send out 50 invites, but the first people to come in get the seats. You know, so it makes it a little bit of a rush to get the seat, or, you know, increases the value. There's only this many left.
You said 10, you know?
Well, you can have up to 10 in a hangout, so it's going to be yourself plus 9 other spots. Now, Google even started something called help outs. And as a vendor, you can sign up to be a help out provider. Now, what help is they took their Hangouts. Oh, yay! We can hear Brian's thing.
There you go.
Yay.
So, we can do this.
So,
Because that way you can
okay.
be there.
Now, can you hook the speakers up to your? Okay. So here we are. Let's turn the camera on.
Really? Oh.
Oh, hi.
They're still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Yes, there it is. I see her
Yay.
now. Yes, mine was frozen.
Awesome. Well, we can hear you guys now. Thank you so much for joining us. So I'm going to ask Janice first to give her introduction. Janice, go ahead.
Okay, what was the thing you're asking me?
Introduction.
I just would like you to give us a little introduction. Oops, I'm on the wrong one, that's why.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Janice Probert, and I am an owner of BusyBiz Virtual Assistant. I'm a virtual assistant, and I help businesses with tasks that they do not have time for, so they can focus on the income-generating aspects of their business.
Right. And you and I met in person, Janice, but we have been meeting a lot in Hangout, because even though she's in Palm Desert, I'm in Desert Hot Springs, we're like, let's just meet by Hangout. And we've been meeting with Carla, and I've been telling the audience how we've been having our business planning meetings because we three are collaborating on something. So tell us a little bit about how nice it is to hold your meetings through Hangouts.
It's very nice. I like it because I'm right here in my home. Like I was saying earlier, I am wearing slippers and I can be wearing shorts and you wouldn't know it. So
Yes.
it's comfortable, it's a comfortable environment, and we get a lot accomplished during that time.
Yes.
And one-on-one in person is nice.
Now she brings up something I have a funny story about. You have to remember what you're wearing. I was doing a hangout with a lady one time, and my cat came in the room. I'm like, oh, look at me, here's my kitty. And her dog was in the back row. She goes, oh, let me go show you my doggie. And she gets up and she goes to go over there, and she's in her underwear, and she totally forgot. And so, like, she stood up, she picked up her dog, she realized, and she, like, didn't know what to do, and she just went and sat down, you know, and I just pretended, I was
Thank
looking
goodness it was
away.
just you.
Yeah, I was like, thank God it wasn't me, and thank God it was not a hangout on air.
Well, you could have
Yeah.
took a screenshot.
No.
So the simple trick is to click.
Right, the simple trick is to click. And Janice, one more question I'm going to give you now. With Hangouts, have you found that they come in handy with your clients that you serve as a virtual assistant? Because if they are having a problem, we can get online, we can use screen share. Has that been helpful for you?
Yes, it has. It's been very helpful.
Right, so if, say she's doing some updates on somebody's website, or the person is in the website and they want to do some updates and they hit the wrong link, they're like, oh my God, I messed it up. They can call Janice on a Hangout, they can share their desktop, she can see exactly what they pushed and what they did and help troubleshoot them to fix it or get in there and fix it herself. So it's really useful for that.
So that's like go-to-meeting capabilities, so whoever, they can go right into your
Right,
program. Okay.
right. And Jim, why don't you give us a little introduction for yourself now, please?
Hi, my name is Jim Alt, and I'm joining you from sunny Florida. We're having a bit of a cool day, but not cold. And my strength is helping people become comfortable with Hangouts so that they really work for you.
Right.
And the idea is, once you have a Hangout, what are you going to do with it? That's my specialty.
Right, and Jim is the person, he was actually a guest on my TGIF show on one of our episodes, and it was a great episode because he came in and taught us about all the different ways that you can use your video content, from taking still pictures to separating the audio, using it as a podcast. So you could do one Hangout show and you could get a whole lot of marketing potential, little bits and pieces out of it. You know, you can take sound bites for a 30-second commercial or a podcast or you know, anything, whether it's a video or just the sound or just a still picture. People love to see pictures of Hangouts, you know, in social media. People like the people pictures, and they like the pictures where you're out doing stuff with other people. So when you post your pictures from your Hangouts, those are always kind of a nice interest getting posted that kind of make people say, oh, that looks like fun, I want to come in too. Hey Janice, Do you want to put on a tiara? Do you want to put on a tiara? I was trying to show them the effects.
Turn on my what?
Your tiara
Google effects.
in the Google effects. You know, put the hat on. The-
I'm not going to do the tiara.
Okay.
You can do the mohawk.
You look good in a mohawk, Jim.
Yeah, right.
I'm not either.
Well,
She's
all
already-
right, somebody put something on. I just want to show them what it is.
Oh, my.
Oh,
Brian,
okay,
can
the
you-
Let's
Google
put it on
effects.
you.
Yeah.
Let's put it on you, Meilani.
Okay.
Back up a little bit so you can.
Okay.
With the cat.
Well, let's see.
With the cat.
Are you
Yay, the
getting
cat.
requests? All right, you're getting the action shots now, the Meilani action shots. Okay, but they're not seeing this.
There.
are they?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So here I am, I love my tiara. And they even give you things like
He has a hat
sound
on.
effects. So for people who are trying to do an actual show, they can do, and here's our special guest.
Oh, Jim's good.
Oh, man, Jim's got a hat on.
I'll do that.
He has a hat.
That's not good.
What about, can you create your own custom? Oh, jeez. Can you create your own custom?
No, you cannot create your own custom, at least
No.
not yet. Now, another feature the host has is this thing called
someday.
I'll figure it out.
enhanced. And it allows you to kind of fuzz out the background so that you're in the focus. You can brighten up your scene a little. So they do give you some nice effects that you can use, which for the really creative content makers out there is nice. They can use the black and white and the fuzzies.
2 questions. Do your Hangouts affect your Google search position? Because you've got all the YouTube videos?
Yes.
And, oh, cool. And, the other one I just forgot.
She asked if the Hangouts help with search, basically SEO. I'll let Brian take that question if you don't mind,
I
because
honestly
you
don't
are
have-
the SEO guy.
Being on Google Plus definitely helps your SEO efforts. So if you're not already on Google Plus, get there because you can't get to here unless you're on there. So
Right.
that's-
So another couple ways that it helps is, for example, Facebook. If you post something on Facebook, it's not really public. Even if you post it public, if people go to look at it, they get hit with a page. You have to sign in to Facebook in order to see this, and it's a real pain. Doesn't really do anything for your SEO. But if you make a public post on Google, it's public, and it will show up in search results. Now, you can even take that post on Google and embed it in your website. So I actually have a section of my website that's posts by plussers, because then you can take, for example, your real influencers is what they call them, who have a lot of followers and really popular content. You could embed their public post into your website. Now all their SEO power that they have in their post is going to work to the benefit to your website as well.
The other question, so when you are sharing a document, it's a live share? So
It's a
whether you're
live
looking at
share.
a Word document or anything, it's all live?
Correct. And Google has its own, if you don't feel like paying, $1,000-something for Microsoft Office, you can just use Google apps, and they're free. So in Google Drive, there's apps for making slideshows. It's called Presentation. There's Google Docs, which is your alternative to Microsoft Word. And there's also a spreadsheet. And you can, inside a Hangout, open up a Google Doc, for example. All 4 of us would be able to actually contribute to the document. You would actually see a little cursor for Janice, a different color cursor for Jim, a different color cursor for me. So true collaboration in work groups is really, really easy and effective using Google Hangouts.
What if you want to edit your presentation? If you did a workshop, say, in the app, and you want to edit, it goes up to YouTube, but you want to edit it.
That's a great question, Marty. YouTube is adding more and more editing capabilities to it. So you can do some editing right in YouTube.
Okay.
Other editing, you can, if you are the person who uploaded it, it's from your account, it's your video, you can do what you want. So you can actually download your videos from YouTube. So if you have, iMovie or something at home that you use to edit your videos. You can download them and do some editing and then re-upload if you want.
So you can delete, it
Yes.
does it automatically for you, but you could delete it. Say you
Oh, of
say,
course,
oh,
yeah.
I don't want that up, just
Yeah.
cut it off.
You could delete it, or you could set it to private, so that when you set it on private, your video, your settings, that means it does not show up in search results. It means nobody sees it and you're listed in your channel or anything.
And then did you say you can set up shopping carts, so some of them would have to be paid to view, or they're
That's
coming?
coming,
Okay.
yeah, with Google Wallet, that's coming. I don't know if it's set up yet, but it's coming.
So if you're working on a document with 5 people that those are the main people that are working on the document, and some new person comes in, can you actually hide that document from that person seeing it?
In
even though they're
the Hangout, no.
Yeah.
If you have a document open inside a Hangout, anybody in that Hangout is going to see that document.
okay.
It's automatically shared with everybody in there.
Okay.
But you can go back afterwards and change the sharing on your document when your hangout is done.
After your hangover.
After your hangover's done and you wake up, you can go back and change the permissions on your documents that you created.
You can select that one document and just
Correct.
change it.
Right, because it'll be in your Google Drive.
Gotcha.
So, yes. Wait,
If
gentlemen in the back.
someone knows that you have a hangout meeting going, if you will, and they want to join it, can you deny access to them? How
Yes,
does that
they
work?
can only join if you invite them to join. So your Hangouts are invite only. Now you can create public Hangouts. Most people don't. Not usually a good idea. But if you're doing a Hangout on air, they do give you a tool. It's called Cameraman. And what that does is when people come into your Hangout, because you might send invites, but they might not come in until 15 minutes later when you're in the middle of your broadcast of your show. So, you know, you don't want them coming in and making noise and being all distracting. So what Cameraman does is when they first come in, they're whited out, they're screened out, and they're muted. Then the host has the ability to turn their camera on when they're ready to join the show, but they will have to unmute their own microphone.
And the host can also dismiss them if they wish?
Yes, the host can dismiss them. So if somebody is on their worst behavior, there's a way to kick them out and make a report at the same time.
What about if you're all collaborating on like a Google chart and everyone contributes an entry? Who saves it?
It will show up in all their Google Drives.
Oh,
The
what?
person who first opens the Hangout and creates the document is going to be the owner of the document. But it will be shared with all the participants. And so I don't know how familiar anybody is with Google Drive, but if you go in there, you can, there's a choice that says recent documents, and that would be the easiest way to find it. Click on recent because it's not going to be filed anywhere. And then you can take a copy of it if you want for your own records and make a copy and file it, or you can still work on it. Or if you're the owner, you can then change the access for the other people that it's shared to. So say, for example, at the end of your meeting, you've got this document, it's great. You don't want the other people to go in afterwards and make more changes because you like, I want this document in the form it's going to be in. You can tell them yourself if you want to work on it, and then you can change the access so that they can make comments but not changes. So you can provide access on your documents to give the other person full access, which means they can go in and edit it, change what's on there, or they can just view and comment, which means they can view it, they can't change anything, but they can leave like a little sticky note that says, hey, I think it'd be great if we made this change. And then that way you have the chance to review it and decide whether to add the change or not.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So the recording that takes place, that gets uploaded, if you've got one person on the screen, another person, and then you have the document up for a while and back to a person, what's recorded is with the document on the screen?
Correct. Whatever is in the big screen, that's going to show up in the recording. Because the recording is going to be basically the whole Hangout window. So you can set it to, in the recordings, not show these bottom people, but because I do it for a networking show and business, I always want to keep that in there, and I like letting everybody see everybody who's in there. But it will record the whole Hangout window. So whatever's showing in the big screen, if you're sharing a document, that will be available. Anybody else have any questions? And does anybody have any questions for anybody who joined us in the Hangout, for Janice or Jim? Marty?
I work with a lot of beginners, and my concern is it might be too difficult for them to get into the
Yes.
loop here for me to get them in.
That is the biggest hurdle. What worked really well for me is I went and wrote a really long post, how to create a Google account, and I took screenshots of each screen. And then I put in it, after you create the Google account, I showed them how to find me on Google Plus and connect with me and send me a message. And I took screenshots for every step of the way, and then how to add me to their circles. And so that's been really effective. Ever since I put that post up, I now send it to my people who want to come into a class that are not yet on Google, and they're finding it really easily. And Google changed a lot of things, so they actually made their sign-up process much easier. Back when I signed up, it was several screens worth of information you had to fill out. Now it's like 2 screens that they go through. So, you know, Google's pretty new. It's only, Google Plus rather, is pretty new. It's only been around for a few years, but they have in those few years been really listening to people's feedback and improving things. And that's another reason I like them personally better than, say, Facebook, where most people are. They actually, the Google people actually hold Hangouts every week where you can go in and ask them questions and how to do stuff. And I saw some questions back here first.
I'm a beginner too, so please excuse the question. If you have 5 people in your group, and that's the only way I know how to describe it at this moment, but you only want to meet with 2, do you dismiss those others, or do you even contact them in the beginning?
Generally, if I'm going to do something like that, I will set it up that either before or after our meeting, let's have a private meeting and then bring the other person in. Or after our meeting ends, let's start our own hangout.
So the fact that they're in your environment doesn't mean that they're participating all the time?
Well, they are if they're in the hangout with you, then they are in the hangout with you and they're participating. They're going to hear what you're saying. You can't have a private conversation with another person. Now, you could like open a chat box on the side, not in the hangout window, but in another window in Google, and have a private chat with one of the other people, but that's,
But I think
kind
she's
of
asking
multitasking.
something different.
Yeah, I think she's asking if you just wanted to invite 2 people out of the
2
group
people.
instead of all
You
5
just don't
of them.
invite the group.
Oh, right, yes, I'm sorry.
Just
Thank
call them
you.
individually.
Yeah, thank you.
See, I
You can just
warned you,
invite,
I was a beginner.
yeah, you can invite 1 person, or you can invite up to 9 people. You can invite whoever you want, and only the people you invite will come in.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry. Thank you guys for helping me out there. And did you have a question too?
Are you running these through like a personal Google Plus page, or you do business Google Plus page?
Good question, and that is a question that gets a lot of debate in the circles on Google, to do a business page or a personal page, and it kind of depends on what your business is. If you have a brick and mortar business, or if you're selling products, or you have a separate business name, I think it's a good idea to make a business page. However, personal profiles are much, much more easier to build up an audience for than business pages. So what a lot of people are doing, especially if you're a solopreneur and you offer services or consulting services, a lot of times they're just using their personal profiles. So I don't have a business page on Google. I just use my personal profile to do all my reaching out to, since I'm just a consultant kind of person.
Yeah, and the other thing is, once you open a business page, then you're in the position of having to develop brand awareness.
Right.
Whereas a lot of people already know you by name,
Right.
and they like you. And even if you have 2 businesses, with the circles, you can even have circles for one business and circles for another business. But you already branded yourself as a personality of somebody who you trust. So.
Right. Good answer. She just gave a lot of actually really good information there. Did you have a question too?
Yeah, I'm relatively new to this as well, and this nice gal had mentioned that you can go ahead and use your existing email address and set up a Google account.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you have a Gmail address, just go to plus.google.com and use your Gmail username and password to log in, and it'll basically give you a prompt that says upgrade to everything else, and just say yes. Now, if you don't have an account at all, you'll want to go to plus.google.com, plus.google.com, and create an account. You can use your existing email address to create the account if you want, but it will also generate a Gmail for you. When you create a Google account, you will automatically be generated a Gmail address. So for your Gmail address, I suggest just using your name, your first name and last name.
Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead and get a Gmail address, because you'll
Yeah.
be glad, you'll be consistent.
Yes,
Yeah.
you'll definitely be glad.
And my question being, I currently have a Gmail account for personal emails, which is all my fluff stuff. And then we use Outlook to do our business. And I would like to have two separate Gmail accounts, still keep my personal one, but to set up the business. And so I would go on to plusgoogle.com.
Right, you could create a new
To new account.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And that would increase our exposure through Google.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Now you could also, let's see, you could, if you go and create your Google account, it'll generate a Gmail address, but you can also associate your other address with it if you wanted to. So for example, if you wanted to forward your Gmail to, say you've been using Yahoo for a bazillion years and you just want to keep using Yahoo, you could do that. Most people aren't going to. It's usually going to be the other way around because Google's just future is Google. So if you're not on Google coming up in 2014, you're going to want to be, because people who are not on Google, I hate to say it, but I really think they're going to be left behind in the social and the online circles. Okay.
I'm looking for your post about how to get started to join
Okay.
mutual aid.
Can we go back to the Hangout window for a
You
minute,
bet.
please? I just want to say thank you to everybody who joined us in the Hangout. Thank you so much, Janice, and thank you, Jim. Carla's not here. If you guys want to go ahead, I'm giving you freedom. Is there anything you'd like to say to the audience before you leave? I'm sorry that most of your time to speak got taken up by technical difficulties, but I'd like to give you a few minutes now. If there's anything you'd like to tell us, do you have any events coming up or any specials or anything you'd like us to know about, Janice?
The main thing I'd like to say is that if you're talking about an audience or potential customers, is that Hangouts are a way of building trust, because people get to see you in a way that isn't just you talking about yourself.
Yes.
And if you're trying to work with people within your company or people that are suppliers or the community, you get to train them and be trained in a way that's much more personal than just exchanging emails.
He's absolutely right, because face-to-face is still the best networking. This brings face-to-face networking to you no matter where you are. And it's absolutely true. The people that I've connected with on Hangouts, most of the clients that I have come to me through connections that I made. You start out with the social media, and then you can really solidify that with hanging out. You really build on that connection and that relationship. I give all my consulting sessions through Hangout. I give all my lessons through Hangout. My club that he was talking about in the beginning, Meilani's Blooming Business Club, it's Hangout based. Every month we do a Hangout workshop on a topic important to small business people, and then we do homework assignments afterwards to get them in the use, in the practice of using those skills, but it's based on the first thing that we do is have our Hangout workshop. Thank you, Jim. That's an excellent, excellent.
And the last point I want to make that's very, very important is it teaches you how to wave close to your face.
Right? Yes. Do you have any events coming up that you'd like us to know about, Jim? Jim?
Now, I couldn't quite hear that. Is that for me?
I said,
Talk over here.
do you have any events coming up that you'd like us to know about?
Oh, I'm just helping with the fabulous Wynn Charles and her Women of Wisdom, and that's coming up this month, and you'll have people stay tuned for that, because I think that's going to be quite valuable over the spring.
Okay, and one last thing I want to ask you about. Tell us a little bit about the CSI stuff, because they were using Hangouts, but for a little bit of a different reason, and the Doctor Who.
Yes, the Hangout for someone who's trying to build their brand, either as an author or to create an audience that wants to come to them for expert advice or to learn more about the jargon of an industry. In this case, what Meilani's referring to is the people who do a lot of forensic and detective work really like to let people know how things really work in their community rather than what they see on television. Then another part of how I'm using Hangouts is to bring people together that really like talking about a subject, and they just get going and they keep talking. So one of the Hangouts was like a 3 or 4 hour marathon of everybody just talking and having a great time. So it's partly building bonds, and another part of it is building your brand.
Right. And I'll add to that, because when he's talking about the CSI stuff, these are people that hire him to help them create their Hangouts, and then they use it for, I don't know, one guy's creating a show, I think. But when he's talking about the 4-hour Hangouts, we did this Doctor Who. I don't know if there's any Doctor Who fans in here, but Doctor Who just had their 50th anniversary and then their Christmas special, and so all us fans of Doctor Who were like, ah! And so Jim hosted a Hangout for us, and there were about 4 of us in there, and we were in there for like 4 hours. Now this was a fun, not a business Hangout. However, you know, you end up making these connections. 2 of the people that were hanging out with me in there are now going to be guests on my TGIF Business Networking Hangout, because I found out they do really cool things for small businesses. So the connections you make in a Hangout are really great. Thank you, Jim, so much. Janice, your turn. Do you have any announcements, anything coming up you'd like to let us know about?
Well, I really don't have any event coming up, but I would like to make an announcement as far as, I have a client that just informed me that they're moving to Panama. So that's Central America. They're located in Las Vegas. And I thought, well, I don't want to lose this client. I mean, he's a very important client of mine. And so we, for the next months, are going to be working on doing our Google Hangout, and that way I can keep in touch. And so.
Thank you. That's another great example. Again, Janice is a virtual assistant. She does everything from, you know, admin stuff to executive level stuff. And so her client moving to Panama, another country, is now no longer an issue that would mean losing a client. She can keep them through the Hangouts and regular meetings through Hangouts. Thanks for sharing that, Janice. That's awesome. And if you guys want to hang up now, you can go ahead and hang up. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Bye.
The Queen wave. Do the Queen wave. Okay. So this has been a Hangout experience. Let me know, what do you guys think? What did you think? Do you see some ways that you could use Hangouts in your businesses?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Let's pick somebody at random, ma'am. What's your business and how would you might possibly use Hangouts?
Well, it's kind of, I guess, unique. I own a music catalog, and I'm trying to pump a little CPR. It's an older catalog, and so I'm now in the process of recording the music and giving it more of a contemporary sound.
Cool.
And I'm watching this, and I'm thinking I would really like to build a grassroots following for this music, and brand, somehow brand this so that I can actually build what's going through my brain, actually build a following so I can license this music and get it out there without having to go through some other resource, you know, but I could do it myself.
Yeah, and this would be a great medium to do that. There are actually a lot of music Hangouts out there, and we're seeing musicians using Hangouts to promote their own music and create income. Musicians and artists, you know, have always kind of been, oh, it's so hard to sell your music. Well, you know, nowadays all it is another product. You know, if you have do a concert through Hangout. We've seen people going from being obscure musicians to having, you know, hundreds of thousands of followers and doing very vibrant music shows on Google Plus Hangouts.
So on LinkedIn you have groups, you know, that are oriented towards specific things. Is there a directory sort of like that to find these groups on Google?
There is when you go on Google Plus, there is a whole listing of Hangouts, and there's a listing of events. And so you'd want to look both at events, because people make events to promote their Hangouts. Like they'll make an event, hey, this is going to happen this day, this time, it's going to be a Hangout. And then when the Hangout actually starts, they can do that. But so you want to look at events and you want to look at Hangouts, and upcoming ones will be listed. And just start at, if you're on there, you have something called circles. And circles are how you organize the people that you want to follow. So let's say I'm on Google Plus and I see stuff coming up by Dr. Simone, and I see your stuff and I see your music stuff and I'm interested, I'll add you to my circles. If you're in my circles, your stuff shows up in my stream, so I get to see your posts. It's not like on Facebook where you send a friend request and it's two-way, where I have to say, hey, you know, can I friend you and see your things, and you have to accept. No. If I like your post, I just add you to my circles and then I see your posts. Well, anything that you post publicly. I'm not going to see your private stuff, obviously, but I'll see your public stuff. And that's another thing you can do. You can set your posts when you're posting on Google Plus to private or public or just a particular person, and you can set your settings so they can't share it and they can't bring anybody else into the conversation. One thing I want to stress that I always stress to any audience, when you're going on social media, even if you're using something like Google Plus where they give you these controls, and when you make a post it's not public and the people you're talking to can't share it and they can't bring anybody else into the conversation, never feel secure, because anybody can still take a screenshot. They can take a desktop picture, and if they really want to, they can post it. So just remember that. Yes, always be mindful of what you put out there, because nothing is secure in this day and age. We're about at the end of my time. I would like to hand the meeting back over to Jeff, and thank you so much for inviting me, Jeff.
Meilani, thank you very much.